five kingdom classification, we had studied about the monerans. The second kingdom which we should study is the Protista. Protista have phylogenetic relationship with the monerans, but again it is a little advanced form of the monerans. Monerans were prokaryotic where the nucleus was not well developed or well organized, whereas in the Protista the nucleus is well developed, as well as there is presence of certain cell subcellular organelles as well. So let's see the general characteristics of the Protista. First of all, these Protista, the first name was given Protista, or the Protista name was given by a Greek or a German zoologist, and he named Protistos. This term is a Greek term and it means primary. So they were primary organisms which showed unicellularity as well as eukaryotic nature. So some of them they were found in colonies, whereas others were multicellular. Like others, I shouldn't say, they showed colonial forms as well as multicellularity. So this was the advancement from the monerans. Monerans, they were free living as well as they had just one. They were rarely found in colonies, whereas here we can see that the protists, they are most of the times found in colonies. When any organism is found in colonies, they can work together and perform or work like or look, it may look like a tissue level of organization, but it is just looking like a tissue level of organization. It is not like that. Here it is just an advancement from a prokaryotic to eukaryotic level. Most of the eukaryotes, they are single celled organisms, just one cell is there, and the body form, whatever they have, the skeleton is not prominent. It means it goes on changing. Think about an amoeba, the outer extension of the amoeba, it goes on changing from one form to another as the time proceeds. So that is about the body form. What about the nutrition? Nutrition means the mode in which they acquire their food. So most of them they are heterotrophs, and some of them they are even photosynthetic at times, but still most of them they are heterotrophs and depend on some or the other organism for their food. The mode of reproduction can be sexual as well as asexual. So asexual by fission and sexual mode like isogamy is also there. We will study each of the modes in details. Despite great diversity evident in this kingdom, still we tried to categorize them or group them. We didn't try, the scientists they thought that they have to categorize them in certain groups, and what they did was they grouped the organisms in three main categories. Some of them who showed some similarity with the animals, we the scientists they grouped them in the animal like category. Some showed similarity because of presence of chlorophyll into plant like organism, and they were grouped into plant like organism, and some other they showed similarity with the fungus, so they were grouped into fungus like organisms. And on the basis of not only the one of the categories, certain categories were taken. One was the mode of reproduction, method of nutrition, as well as the motility, which is movement shown by these organisms. On the basis of these few categories also they were classified. So keeping in view the reproduction, method of nutrition, and motility, the organisms they were grouped into animal like, plant like, or fungus like organisms. Now, the animals like protists are also known as protozoans. That is what protozoans are, basically disease causing organisms, which we always talk about. But Protista can also be named as protozoan at times, but it is much more appropriate to name it as Protista. The plants like photosynthetic protists are called the alga. That is what some of them they are photosynthetic as well, and they will be grouped into alga category, whereas some of them they are fungus like and they are called the slime molds or the water molds. So this is just a little generalization of the Protista, just general idea about them. If you see the structure, the very first structure is of the amoeba, and in amoeba you can see the extension of pseudopodia. Here you can see cilia being present, so looks like a paramecium. Here just a flagella is there. So on the basis of locomotory movement, we can see these three pictures. The another one is a colonial form. Colonial form in the sense that a group is formed, a mass of ball is formed, which looks as if all the organisms are joined together, but it is not the case. At times they are just grouped together, but they all are capable of performing their functions on their own. Okay, just they are present together, and here just one of them is visible in a prominent way. So free living forms are also available. If we see the general characteristics of the protists are solitary, in the sense they can live all alone. Just one of the organism can be found all alone. Colonial as well. Colonial in the sense in a colony, in a group they can be found. And eukaryotes, and as because they are eukaryotes, they are not going to form tissue level of organization. That is what I want to make you understand. Even if a organism is present, suppose this is a big group where several organisms they are present, or several amoeba, or you can think of any of the microorganism, any of the protista being present in a group form. Those this group, I mean to say, this was the group which I was trying to make you understand about. So in this group you see that most of the dots, each of the dot is a protista. They all look like a tissue level of organization, but each of these structures they are capable of performing their function on their own. They are not dependent on anyone for it. So that's it. That is about the colonial form, and they are not forming the tissue level of organization. They are still in themselves capable of doing their function. Simple multinucleate organisms or stages of life cycle occur in some of the groups. For example, plasmodium. You all are aware about a malarial parasite. So this malarial parasite, Plasmodium, it completes its life cycle in several stages. We will just study in details about the Plasmodium, but you can just think about it. Multinucleated organism means just one cell having many nucleus within it. So the eukaryotes, they have multiple nucleus within themselves. The organisms possesses nuclear membrane and mitochondria. So if mitochondria is there, of course there will be mitochondrial DNA as well. This is also to be thought of. Nuclear membranes are there, so they are eukaryotic. That's why they have presence of these nuclear membranes. Presence of plastid, so plastid is chloroplast. And 9 plus 2 strand of flagella. Now this is something you should think of. Think about a structure, a big circle which has 9 number of globular rings. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 rings. 9 plus 2 arrangement you can see. 9 plus 2 arrangement is as such that 9 of the rings are arranged in a circular way around a globular structure, and then after there are 2 of them present in the center, and from here the flagella will arise. Flagella, you all remember the lashing movement which is seen in euglena. That kind of structure is present in this organism. Okay, and this is the arrangement of the flagella. And other organelles are also present. The nutritive mode of of these organisms are mostly photosynthetic, because they have presence of chloroplast or plastid within them, so they can do photosynthesis. Some of them who are plant like. Absorption and ingestion. Absorption for the saprophytes like the fungus like organisms. Ingestion and ingestion is for the animal like organisms like the amoeba. It looks like an animal, and since it is macroscopic, it is microscopic, I'm sorry, and has a extension, outer extension. So outer cellular extension, with the help of that they can ingest the food. Some of the organisms or protista, they can perform both the functions together. So the reproductive cycles typically include both sexual as well as haploid forms and a true sexual process. So basically karyogamy or meiosis also takes place in these organisms, and it is a sexual mode of reproduction. And asexual mode is by binary fission most of the times. Most of the organisms, they have presence of flagella for movement. Sometimes cilia is present, and other times some of them they are not at all motile. Movement is missing in them. So these are about the general categories or characteristics of the protist.